Why do I speedrun? The Sizzler tried to answer the question why we speedrun Minecraft, bringing together several high-profile speedrunners to create an entertaining but idealized video about what makes it enjoyable. But this video is far too self-centered for that. Why do I speedrun Minecraft? Me and speedrunning have always had an interesting relationship. At many points I found myself loving and hating speedrunning, and over time I've come to depend upon my speedrunning to find my place and sense of value within Minecraft. When most people watch a speedrun, they see the culmination of 1,000 hours of practice and 100 failures that all lead to this moment where they load up the perfect seed and nail a world record. When I see a speedrun, the hours of failed attempts and bad worlds is all I can think about. And sometimes I even feel jealousy for this runner who got lucky. I first got interested in speedrunning back in December of 2020. Ah yes, what a fun year. So much time and so little to do. Uni had just sent me home for the holidays and I wouldn't be allowed back until many months later. In fact, I was lucky to be going into uni in the first place. Anyways, it was Curryway who inspired me. I remember watching his video about how you can beat Minecraft in under 30 minutes, along with many others, that taught me about speedrunning and the community. My first so-called speedrun was me sitting down with a stopwatch on my phone and a determination to beat the game for the first time. I died in a bastion, killed Enderman in a warped forest for pearls, and killed the dragon the traditional way after about 2 hours. At this point, I had no intention of trying again. I intended to continue that world into a nice little survival world, and built a starter house in the form of a giant mushroom on a hill. But then I learnt about FSG, Filtered Seed Glitchless, where instead of committing yourself to thousands of hours of resetting, a fancy complicated computer thing would give you good seeds to run. But if I was going to try doing this again, I needed more than just inspiration. I turned to T-Wags. I had already heard of T-Wags from an interview he did with Curryway. He is the legend and genius who pioneered Bastion strats, along with many other useful speedrunning strategies. I did some minimal research and learnt about the 4 different bastions from him, and worked out how to one-cycle the dragon with the help of Ember's Epic End Practicera map, which took many hours just in itself. Finally, after working out how to kill the dragon with 6 beds, I upgraded my timer to live split, a standard speedrunning timer that will start automatically and deal with in-game time and stuff. Then, sometime in January 2021, I loaded up my first seed. It took several hours and a few failed attempts, but I managed to complete my first run in 30-something minutes. I was immensely pleased with myself and proudly told anyone who would listen about the achievement. Then, when I had a chance, I tried again. Slowly, bit by bit, my time edged down to sub 30, and then sub 25, then sub 24. It now been about a month or two, and I got OBS and started recording the speedruns, so maybe I could get them verified. I came close to sub 20 several times, but always fell just short, messing up and getting rolled by imperfect worlds. But I persevered and believed in myself, and suddenly, I shattered my PB with a 1625. This was the first video I uploaded to this channel, and I can vividly remember getting out of my chair and freaking out in the corner of my room at uni, hand over mouth, shaking in utter disbelief that I might actually be good at the game. I pushed the time down to 1542, and even braved Random Seed Glitchless. Oh boy, a Random Seed's way harder than I expected. As long as it took me to get a sub 25 in Filtered Seeds is how long it took me to get my first Random Seed run in 40 minutes and 44 seconds. But, as before, I kept pushing and learning and striving to get the time down. I went down to sub 40, and then I got the incredible 2704, a sub 30. You see, sub 30 in Random Seed Glitchless was always the goal for me, the sparkly dream that Curry had promised me when I first started, and now I had it. Like with that sub 20 in FSG, I was out of my chair in utter disbelief. But the story doesn't end there. If I could sub 20 on a filtered seed, then technically it's possible on a random world, right? Motivation could not be higher, and I wanted to push myself further. I kept running. Months passed. Things were busy, but where I could, I would speedrun. I started to get frustrated. I didn't understand how I would keep getting so close to beating my PB only to fall short. 27:04 became this intimidating barrier that I couldn't cross. I told myself that this meant a big PB was coming soon. I'd seen it happen before, nothing for a long period, and then suddenly everything would come together for the next big milestone. So I tried harder. 4 months ago, on the 27th of October, 2021, after 5 months and 2 days, I beat the game in 26 minutes and 45 seconds. It was a tiny improvement, but I had finally done it, and I was so relieved. I was convinced this was the curse breaker that I needed, and kept going, trying harder than ever before, but I just stagnated again. I would keep failing and blaming myself for the failure, comparing myself to others and setting impossible expectations. Speedrunning was becoming tied to my self-worth, and my health, both physical and mental, was starting to suffer. By the time I got my PB of 24:14, I barely felt any joy for the achievement at all. I was determined to not go another 2 months before getting the next PB, and I worked harder than ever before, speedrunning for 4 to 6 hours a day, and often staying up late into the night, sat on my uncomfortable desk chair in the same position for far too long. I didn't exercise and I barely slept. I threw myself into practice, using K4's advanced guide called 18 Bastion Routes I used for world record in Minecraft speedrunning. I was convinced that I could use better technique to get good enough for my next personal best. But as it turns out, speedrunning for 4 to 6 hours a day and hating myself every time something goes wrong isn't sustainable. Who would have seen that one coming? Poof. One day I was busy and couldn't speedrun, and then the next day I just didn't pick it up again. And I couldn't bring myself to try again. My break was nearly a month long. I was stuck in limbo, unable to do anything productive. Gosh, I wonder why. A few weeks ago, after watching one too many Coreway videos, I picked myself up off the proverbial floor and loaded up Minecraft and OBS once again. I picked up a shiny new timer and loaded up the practice maps. I jumped into my first run after a long break, and immediately everything went well. I was in the end at 20 minutes, only to misplace my obsidian for the one cycle, so when the dragon perched at 23 minutes, I threw the run. Ordinarily, I would have been livid at the mistake, but for once it didn't matter to me. I had proved now that it was possible. The world was far from perfect, and I knew I could do it again. I eagerly loaded up the next seed. But things still weren't easy. I kept messing up, time and time again. My days were a cycle of failing, blaming myself, doubting myself, and picking myself up to try again the next day. I was completely reliant on success in a stupid block game for my validation, and I started to wonder if I would even be happy when I finally did achieve a personal best. It was a few weeks ago when the problem really started. Sometimes I get pains in my right leg or left shoulder, but this was way worse. I woke up one morning and struggled to walk. I had to limp into the shower and was in genuine worrying pain. I pushed through it. It only got worse. And people started to notice my limp. I tried to shrug it off and managed to book a physio appointment. To be clear, there isn't anything seriously wrong, which is good. And the physio was quite vague, actually, on the solution. There's stretching, more exercise, etc. But I was now acutely aware of how unhealthy I am. I've been more careful since then, and after several dog walks and less computer, I feel a lot better. So that's where I was around 8:30 on the 19th of March, yesterday. I started a speedrunning session and it was going typically bad. I'd already made some bad slip-ups, and it was now around the time that I should be stopping for bed. So, Firmly stuck in that just one more mindset, I loaded up the next seed. It was a village spawn. I got 3 iron from the golem and found an underground lava pool to make my portal with, and turned my difficulty to hard so the fire would spread faster to light the portal. A little technique called wood lighting for those of you who don't know. Arriving in the nether on average pace, I immediately saw the fortress and killed an enderman for a pearl. The pearl throw was perfect, and I arrived just next to the blaze spawner where I was killed instantly by a wither skeleton. It was then that I realised my difficulty was still on hard. But the just one more mindset is a powerful one, and for the next 3 last ones, I found nothing until I loaded up the final last run of the day. A mediocre overworld led to a nether that I'd thrown several times before. As I pearled up to the fortress, I was starting to shake. And as the run progressed, the panic ramped up to a maximum. When the Eye of Ender turned suddenly, I nearly fell off my chair. And when the dragon perched at 18 minutes, I was so shaky, I briefly forgot how to click, and nearly threw the run then and there. But after over a year, and with so much struggle leading up to this one run, it all came down to this. I did it. About time. Okay. Oh, it's so bad. Okay, whatever. Let's go.